Dude, here's what happened.
Dude, here's what happened!
Episode 3. Dude, here's what happened, episode 3. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I didn't think we'd make it this far. Like, I wanted to make it this far, but deep down, I don't know if I thought we'd make it this far. I had a podcast before. It was awful. It was a few years ago. It was called Down with the Fatness or something like that. Audio only podcast about my weight loss journey. And guess what? It didn't go anywhere. My weight loss did not go anywhere. It did not work out. It was audio only, so you couldn't see how fat I was and how skinny I was getting, which is good because I didn't get skinny. I stayed fat, and I think I made 2 episodes of it and gave up. And then all kinds of fun stuff happened in my life. I got divorced. I wrecked a motorcycle. A lot of life changes real fast, and that's the way that I live my life. Is all of a sudden a bunch of stuff just starts going bad, and it's a lot of fun. I wouldn't recommend it, but I had a good time with it. Not really, but that's what I'm telling myself. But we're here. We're episode 3. We're gonna get some guests on here soon-ish. I think I'm working on it. I got some people in mind. I just got to figure out logistically how it's gonna work with getting to them, because obviously we're not doing Zoom. We're in the Chevy Sonic studio. This is where the magic happens. And so I will go and pick up whoever's going to be on this podcast, because they got to be right there. And they'll get their own microphone. Well, it's my microphone, but they get to use it. I love this thing. I know it looks weird, but I love it personally. Makes me feel important or something. Complete transparency. This is my 3rd attempt at this episode of this podcast, because today has been an interesting day. It just seemed like I was spinning my wheels all day long and nothing was working. Like I just couldn't get momentum on anything. It felt like a fairly long day at work. It's always a long day at work. So what I do for a job is pretty skilled labor that I do. It's the big 5-gallon jugs of water. You ever wonder how the water gets in all those? That's me. I have a little machine back there that I work with, and I fill probably about 500 5-gallon jugs of water every single day. And each jug's about 40 pounds. That's not a lot. But 500 of them wears on you a little bit by the end of the day, and you're moving a little bit slower. I'm 38 years old. I have arthritis all over the place. And I'm moving pretty slow once I get out of there. That's all right, though. That's what keeps me in this amazing fitness condition that I'm in. And, I'm doing the Lord's work. Nah, it's a job. And I don't mind it. My bosses are pretty easygoing and pretty flexible. So it's cool. But this is the day that I usually, if I have my kid every other week. On the weeks that I don't have her, my ex gets a visit on Wednesday. On the weeks that I do have her, no. On the weeks that, this is why we're 3 attempts into this episode, all right? On the weeks that I don't have my kid, I get a visit on Wednesday. And on the weeks that I do have my kid, my ex gets a visit on Wednesday. So Wednesdays are always days where I'm just going until I'm not. Because even when it's just my ex getting a visit with her, I have to make sure that I meet at whatever place to get her back. And I got to get her home and get her, ready for bed, all that stuff. And then by the time I have a chance to do anything, it's the middle of the night like it is right now. But that's all right, because even though I'm tired all the time, I am kind of a night owl. Like, I'll stay up all night just because. And I think that's probably the ADHD. I don't know why I'm awake, but I am. That's the way it usually is after about midnight or so. And I'll just stay awake until I go, why am I doing this? I have to get up for work in the morning. Then I go to bed and I wake up exhausted and we do the whole thing over again. So anyway, this is the 3rd attempt at this podcast episode. And I don't have high hopes for this take either, but we're going to see what happens. We're going to get some guests on here. Like I said, we're going to have a good time. Thank you for sticking around for the first however many minutes this has been with me just trying to figure out what we're doing. Thank you for watching the other 2 episodes. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. This is Dude, Here's What Happened. The best podcast that anyone has ever recorded in this particular 2014 Chevy Sonic LT. Not a big deal. So, dude, here's what happened. I mentioned it, I think, or maybe that was in a previous attempt of this episode, but I did wreck my motorcycle while I was going through my divorce. And it was a good time. It was a wonderful experience, and I recommend it. That is obviously sarcasm. It was horrible. I was very depressed. I'm not going to get into any details on the divorce because that's just, I don't like putting stuff like that out there. But needless to say, I was not feeling great about myself. And I had moved away from home where all the rest of my family lives. I moved about 100 miles away. And I was fine with that when I had my little family unit. And then that just wasn't the case anymore. And I was feeling pretty lonely and a little homesick. And I drove a big truck that it just guzzled gas. And so I was like, I can't afford to go home and see anybody. Because I don't know if you've ever been divorced. Not the cheapest thing I've ever done. Not to mention, we don't have 2 incomes anymore. It's just me. And so I was feeling it. I was feeling the distance. And I was in a pretty rough spot. And so I started kind of looking into more cost-effective ways to go and see people that liked me. And I found a motorcycle for a pretty decent price. And I didn't know how to ride a motorcycle. I know what you're thinking. Why would you buy something you have no idea how to ride? I was lonely. I was very sad. I was pretty depressed. And I was like, I'll figure it out, dude. I got the time. So I got the motorcycle. And riding a motorcycle is a lot of fun, actually. It's very fun. And I would I'm not the type of person that just loves to drive. I don't mind it, but I'm not let's go on a Sunday drive. But the motorcycle, man, I would just take it out just to take it out. It was fun. And I really enjoyed it. I caught on to it pretty quick. And a lot of the first like week was just me I'll go a little bit farther this time and I'll get better at shifting gears and all this stuff until I was really comfortable with it and I felt really good about it. And I'd wanted a motorcycle for a long time. Obviously I feel like almost every young boy is like, I'm gonna get me a motorcycle one day. I don't know why young boys talk like that, but I was all about it. I'm like, I'm gonna get a motorcycle one day. And my mom was always like, no, you're not. And I'm like, why? You don't want me to have any fun? She's like, I've known too many people that have gotten really hurt on those things or died. I was like, Mom, I don't know if you know this about me, but I have made an executive decision to never die. So you don't have to worry about it. And she did not listen. So finally, in my 30s, I got a motorcycle. And like I said, I was getting pretty good at it. And everybody's got stories about getting cut off and all that stuff. People do not pay attention to you when you're on a motorcycle, even if they're trying to. You're harder to see than anybody else, and everybody's like, you can be as good of a rider as anybody. It's everybody else on the road that you have to watch for, and that is 100% true. There was a lot of people that just turn in front of you, pull out in front of you, all that stuff. And I don't think they're doing it to be mean. I think they just didn't necessarily see you. And I don't even know that it's that they weren't really paying that close of attention. You're just harder to see. There's not much there. And we had some good times on the motorcycle. I may or may not have got it up to like 110 once close to my house. That was fast enough. And you really feel like you are going to take flight when you're going that fast. I wasn't going to do that a bunch. I just wanted to get it up there one time. And I did. And the rest of the time I was not going slow, but I wasn't going 110. I always wore a helmet. At first, when I started off, I was like everyone I think that starts off is like, I'm wearing the helmet, I'm wearing the gloves, I'm wearing the riding boots, I'm wearing, like long pants, I'm wearing the motorcycle jacket, all that stuff. And then I got hot and I was like, I'm going to leave half of this stuff at home. And that probably wasn't a great choice, but I could have never ridden without a helmet. I didn't like the idea of it. And honestly, I would ride with the visor open for brief moments here and there, and it was awful. That much wind in my face, I did not like it. So I like having a little barrier there, especially with all the bugs and stuff. But anyway, there's probably motorcycle people that are judging me pretty hard right now, but I liked wearing the helmet. I didn't have a problem with that. And yeah, like I said, it was a good time. I had a lot of fun doing it, and I really enjoyed like showing it to people and like talking to other people that had motorcycles and swapping stories and all that stuff. And then it was the 4th of July in 2023. I got my kid for half the day that day because we didn't have a parenting agreement yet. We were still in the middle of all the court bullcrap. And so like I just kind of went with whatever we could agree on for that time. Because I think it was good to fight and all that stuff over it until we had something in writing. And I wanted it to be as amicable as possible. So I was just kind of, we were kind of winging it. And I got her for half the day on the 4th of July. And so I took my truck and we went to go see my family and go to my aunt's house. We had a cookout, we're swimming, we're having a good time. I'm like, all right, I got to get the kiddo back. So I take her back. I drop her off at her mom's house. And let's see, what was that? I think the 4th of July was on like a Monday that year because I had to work the very next day and it was a long weekend and I did not want to go back. I hated my job. I worked in a factory driving a forklift and it was just not my jam. Like I did it for a couple of years, but I did not enjoy it. And it was a job that I did not want, but I took it out of necessity to provide for my family. And once the family kind of split up, it was like a negative trigger going back to that particular job. I was, like I said, I was very depressed. I was in a bad place and I really hated that job. And I didn't want to go back and I wanted to make the most out of my long weekend. So when I dropped the kid off, I said, I'm going to go get my motorcycle now and I'm going to go, 100 or so miles back over there, see everybody and kind of show them the bike and stuff and hang out for a little bit and just enjoy the rest of this holiday. And then we'll go back to work tomorrow. And I'd say I was within a half an hour of where I was going, and I was on some back roads. And I came to a hill, and I'm going up this hill. Life is great, having a good time. Poor decision was made before I left the house. It was the 4th of July, and I was like, it's hot out. I'm not wearing gloves. I'm not wearing the riding boots. I'm just going to wear regular tennis shoes. And I stopped wearing the jacket a long time ago. So I was in tennis shoes, gym shorts, a t-shirt, and I had my helmet on. And I was like within a half an hour of my destination, came up to that hill. I'm just kind of cruising along, probably 70 miles an hour or so. And I get to the top of the hill. And as I'm coming over it, I see that both lanes are blocked at the bottom of the hill. There's a grain combine parked in one lane for some reason on the road in one lane. And in my lane, there's a car also parked at the bottom of a hill. Don't know what that's about exactly. But I had to stop and I had to do it like a minute or two ago. And it's too late at this point. I tried. If you're not familiar with the way motorcycle brakes work, you have a hand brake, and it's not like a 10-speed bicycle where they're both hand brakes and one's the front, one's the back. You have a clutch, a hand brake, and then there's a foot brake. You're supposed to use all of those. I panicked because I was like, I have to stop right now or I'm going to smash into one of these vehicles and it's over. So I just grabbed the clutch and the brake and I did a front wheelie and I was like, this is not good. And I came back down and I was like, kind of like swerving and I did another front wheelie and I came back down and I was swerving still and I thought I could save it. And the third front wheelie sent me over the handlebars. And I would be interested to see the distance that I covered through the air. I'm not like a long jumper, but I was in the air for what seemed like forever because it's true what they say. Everything slows down. Everything's in slow motion. You have time to examine like almost everything in an instant, it seems like. So I'm in the air and I'm like, well, you said you didn't want to go back to work tomorrow. And, and then I'm like, but this is not how I envisioned that. I did not think that today was going to be the last day that I was here. And I was like, man, it really stinks that my kid's going to grow up without a dad. And then just like that, I hit the ground. And boy, did I hit the ground hard. And I just want you to picture about 440 pounds of me hitting the road at, who knows, I probably got it slowed down about 40 by the time I came off. But that's pretty fast to hit the ground. And I landed with my hands kind of out in front of me to brace myself, probably the worst thing that I could have done. And I rolled quite a distance. And I remember I hit the front of my head and I hit the back of my head. And I had a bad headache, we'll say. I actually landed sitting up. And like, I've never experienced being in shock before, but it was wild. Like, I landed sitting up. And of course, the people that were parked there were like, ran over there, like, oh my gosh, are you okay? Like, they just saw me just get annihilated. And I was trying real hard not to freak out. But as soon as you get on a motorcycle, you go, man, if I get in a crash, there is nothing really between me and whatever. So as you're crashing, you're like, this is it. This is the end. And I was rolling. I landed sitting up, and I'm like, I'm okay. I'm all right. I think I'm all right. And I realized that my head was pounding, and I was like, I mean, you hear stories about people like falling down and hitting their head, and it kills them. I hit my head extremely hard. And I had a helmet on, but I blew the face shield out of it. I broke a piece off of the back of it. And I'm like, I don't know that this thing did much. And for some reason, I thought like my brain was scrambled and my body was just taking some time to die. But if I kept talking, it would like regenerate brain activity or something. I don't know where I got that idea. But I just kept talking and saying probably kind of insane things. I don't remember a lot of it. But one of my shoes flew off because I hit the road really hard with my left knee and kind of like whipped my foot down at the top of my foot down, and I kicked the road. I had a huge bruise on top of my foot. I'm sitting there with one shoe on, one shoe off. I had just gotten that phone, had no idea where it was. Shout out to the little GPS mount for that motorcycle, because the phone stayed put. So that was a small victory. I totaled the motorcycle. And the lady that was parked in my lane graciously called the 911 for me, which I thought was the least she could do, since it was kind of her fault. And I don't know who she is. I don't even remember what she looked like. I hit my head really hard. So I know it sounds kind of mean to say it was her fault, but it was her fault. And she said I actually came within about 2 inches of hitting my head on the one of the big tires on that combine. So that would have been nighty night, but I didn't. I missed it. And the paramedics showed up, and I was in like almost zero pain from the shock. It was weird because I knew that I got messed up, but I wasn't. I had a little bit of it. I had a headache, and I had road rash like all over me because I was wearing the gym shorts and a t-shirt. So it was just like sliding down a cheese grater. Basically, I just had giant patches of skin missing everywhere, and that stung. But that was really it was the headache, and the stinging sensation was really like the only pain that I had, which seemed odd. And then I looked at my wrist, and it didn't look good. It did not look like a wrist anymore. It was like, it was kind of like so it was this arm. All right. And see how that's like a straight line there? It was more S-shaped. It was, I'm not describing it well, but it was like an S shape. It was like this, and then it went down, and then it went that way. And it didn't look great. So the paramedics show up and they're like, "Hey, buddy, are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know. I think I hit my head." And they're like, "Oh," and nobody's telling me anything. I'm trying to get some comfort here. Like, I'm being honest, telling you I hit my head. Now, this is where you lie to me and tell me that I'm going to be okay, but they're not really doing that. And I I hold up my arm. I'm like, "Hey, do you think this is broken?" And the guy's like, "Yeah, dude." I put that down. What are you doing? And they put the big like air cast thing on, and kind of hurt my feelings a little bit. Like, I know that I'm fat, but there's a whole group of you guys. And they go, "Do you think you can get up and get on the stretcher yourself?" I'm like, "Come on, dude. Really? Like, get the am I that fat?" I was. And so I then the next thing he said was, he's like, "Do you want to wear the neck brace?" And I was like, "I don't think I'm really in the kind of shape that I should be making medical decisions, but nah." So I didn't wear the neck brace. And then I get on the ambulance, and there was a lady paramedic, and I thought she was kind of cute. And she kept like touching my wrist. And I wanted to say, "Please don't do that. You're hurting me." Because I could kind of feel a little bit like the pain was starting to set in. But I was trying to be tough. So I was just like, and then I was really tough. We got to the hospital. I started crying because that's what tough guys do. They ride motorcycles. And then I was like apologizing to him, like, "Oh, sorry. I'm sorry that I'm crying. I'm not trying to upset you guys." And they're like, "We're not upset." And I was like, "Well, you should be a little bit upset, you jerks." But I was pretty much convinced that I was on my way to die. Because like I said, I hit my head twice. I figured it was just a matter of time until the rest of my body shut down. We get to the hospital. The doctors come out. It was a small town. So like all the ER doctors are like, "What? Someone's coming in. Oh my gosh." And they're like, "And it's a motorcycle crash. Holy crap." And then they see that I'm not like missing pieces of me, and they start immediately telling me how lucky I am, which I was. But I don't really want to hear it right now. I think I'm dying, and you just keep telling me that I'm very lucky. Also, I just totaled that motorcycle. I'm a little scared. I just cried in front of the paramedics. And I thought the one girl was cute, and now she thinks I'm a big old wimp. But I guess you're right. I'm very lucky. I just don't really want to hear that right now. And then they didn't say anything to me about my head injury or anything. So I'm like, yeah, they probably don't want to upset me. I'm only going to be here for like 2 hours before I die. And my parents showed up to the ER, and the doctor stops them in the hallway. And I'm like, that's it. He's telling them we're just keeping him comfortable. And he's probably going to pass on here relatively soon. And then I saw him pointing at his wrist, and I was like, okay. If he's explaining the wrist, then maybe everything else is all right. And then they did like a scan and everything. They're like, "You're good." And I'm like, "Oh, all right, I'm going to live." And then all the pain set in, and I could feel absolutely everything, and it was awful. I was like, this hurts so bad. My wrist is S-shaped. It doesn't make sense. I know that. Wrists aren't supposed to be S-shaped, but it is. What is going on? What are we going to do about this? And the doctor, speaking really effed up. And I said, thank you, doctor. It seems like all that medical school is paying off, because I had no clue that that's what happened. And then he said, it's too swollen, and I don't think we have the right stuff here to be able to put you under, probably because I'm enormous and they need a lot to put you under when you're my size. He's like, we're not going to be able to do surgery. And I was like, uh-huh. So we'll send you back closer to where you came from, and you can go to a doctor over there. Now, without divulging where I came from, somewhere within a radius of inside the state of Ohio was the Cleveland Clinic. And so I was like, thank God the Cleveland Clinic is going to work on my wrist and not the doctor with the brilliant diagnosis of the effed up wrist. So that was a bright spot. Like I said, I'm in an incredible amount of pain right now, and all the ER nurses keep coming in and picking up my wrist. And I'm like, can you stop? Can you stop doing that, please? I don't know if you heard the doctor, but that diagnosis of the wrist being really effed up means you should not be picking it up and throwing it around like you're doing. Please stop. And I almost forgot before that, the first thing that, like, when the paramedics got there, the first question I asked them was, did I rip my shirt? I had just bought a new shirt. Shirts are not easy for me to come by. That's a lot of fabric. And this one actually had a graphic on it. Fat guys don't get to wear graphic tees, okay? I said, did I rip my shirt? He goes, no, you're good. I was like, thank God, I just bought this. As soon as I get into the ER, they cut it off. I'm like, I'm awake. You could just ask me. I'll take it off. Nope. Cut it off of me. So I'm down a shirt. I'm feeling all the pain. The nurses keep coming in, moving my arm around. I really wish they would stop. I'm like, hey, where's the pain management guy? Send him in. And he came in, and he gave me some painkillers. And since this is on YouTube and Spotify, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to mention the medications that I'm on, but he gave me a pretty common opiate pain management medicine, and it did absolutely nothing. And I was like, okay, how about you try again, because it's really, really starting to hurt. And so they tried something else. I think there are more of those. And I was like, yeah, no, come on. What do you got? What do you got that's going to help me out here? And they said, okay, this is called fentanyl. And I said, oh, now we're talking. Shoot me straight, doc. And they did. And it didn't do anything. And I said, so did you, I don't mean to tell you how to do your job, but did you do it right? And they're like, yeah, you should have passed out with that. Well, let's give you a little bit more. And now this is going to knock you out. You're going to be, I'm like, thank you, please. And keep it coming. Nothing. No pain relief at all. I didn't get tired. I didn't get loopy. In fact, I was even more aware of how much pain I was in. I said, this is not, I don't think, are you injecting it in me? Or like, are you missing with this? Like what? And so they did it again. Still nothing. No pain relief. I've like no pain relief at all. And then I have to go, an hour and something back to my house. And I'm like, man, this is terrible. And the nurse that was in charge, This dude, he comes in and he's like, oh man, we're going to have to do a special kind of splint on that to get you by until they can do surgery. And he calls in all his underlings. He's like, now watch, this is a special kind of splint that I do. I want you to see how I do this. Okay, because this is different or whatever. And he was very proud of his work on that splint. And I went to the Cleveland Clinic the next day, and the hand specialist walked in, and he goes, oh, let's get that. I don't know what that is. Let's get that splint off of there. That thing's awful. And I started laughing. My dad was there with me. He's like, what? And I go, that nurse was so proud of his handiwork on that splint. And that hand specialist was not having it. And that was very funny to me. And so he's like, we can't do surgery. It's too swollen. We're going to bring you back in about a week. We're going to see if we can do surgery. So I'm like, cool. This is great. I just leave my hand like this. So what actually happened was when I hit the ground with a tremendous amount of force. It actually kind of blew the hand specialist's mind. He's like, you must have hit the ground incredibly hard for it to do the damage that it did. It shattered my radius, and my hand like dislocated and came off. So it was like off and under my wrist. And there's a little piece of this bone still floating in here because it was too small to put back on. And so I go back. We're going to do surgery. He's like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to put a little Y-shaped plate right in here, and that's going to be there forever. And then we're going to put a pin in your wrist to hold your hand on. And I'm like, okay. So we go in, we do the surgery, come back out. He's like, surgery went great. I think it's good. We're going to bring you back in about 10 days, and we're going to take a look and make sure that everything's healing the way it should. I'm like, cool, man. I go back 10 days later, does some x-rays. He's like, I'm so frustrated with myself. I should have just, I don't know why I tried to use the pin. Your hand fell off, which is not something you expect to hear at the doctor, that your hand fell off. And it was again, I mean, it was off the first time I went in there. My hand, we got a real problem. My hand keeps falling off. And so he's like, all right, we're going to go back in. We're going to redo the plate on the bottom. We're going to pull the pin out, and we're going to put a stabilizing plate from like here to here. And I was like, okay, cool. We did the surgery once. It was fine. We'll do it again. And they did it again. And I got a nerve block both times. They put it in like around my shoulder or something. And you just can't feel your entire arm, which is pretty nice when you're dealing with that kind of thing. But this nerve block did not last as long as the first one. The first one was like 24 hours. This one, I woke up at like 4:30 in the morning screaming. And I don't usually like have that reaction to pain. I have a pretty high pain threshold. And I woke up and I was like, I can't even think. Everything hurts so bad. There was like, I don't know, there's somewhere between like 15 to 20 screws in my wrist, and I could feel every single one of them. And so my dad was, he stayed with me that night. He took me to the emergency room, and we went in through the metal detector. I didn't set it off. Very disappointed that evidently the titanium doesn't set off the metal detector. That was the only thing I was looking forward to, and it didn't happen. So we go in there. I sit in the emergency room forever. They gave me a pill like I had at home that was not doing anything. And that was another opiate. It did not touch the pain at all. And then finally, the pain doctor comes in. He's like, so you're hurting pretty bad, huh? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, have you ever had this particular medicine that he said? And I go, I've never heard of it. And it turns out it is not an opiate. It's an NSAID, which is like what ibuprofen is, I guess. And he goes, you know how like LeBron James will get hurt in the first half of a game? He goes back to the locker room and he comes out a brand new man in the second half. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, that's this stuff. I'm like, let's do it. And he gave me a shot of that, and it made it to where it just hurt. Like I wasn't screaming anymore. Like I was able to handle that pain. And then since I had that stabilizing plate put in, I had to go back to have a third surgery to remove that plate from the top, but the bottom one is still there. And then I found out about 2 months later when I was trying to recover, I was like, for some reason, my shoulder really hurts. The doctor's like, well, let's do an x-ray. He's like, you see how your shoulder's kind of hanging out of there? I was like, yeah. He's like, that's not good. Let's get you an MRI. I don't really fit in an MRI machine. Not a great time. They stick you in that little tube and they're like, hey, don't touch the sides, okay? And I'm like, I'm only touching the sides. There's no room in here for me to not touch the sides. So hopefully this works. And those things are noisy and uncomfortable and not fun. But we did it. And they're like, looks like you got a partial thickness tear of your rotator cuff and a torn labrum. I was like, I don't know what that means, but what do we do? And I had been off work for a long time at this point, and I did not want to go back. So I was like, let's do another surgery. Like, no, physical therapy will do it. And I'm like, so we did physical therapy. It was terrible. And I got better, and I'm fine now. I'm great now. I can move my wrist around and stuff. It hurts now because it's raining, and it's absolutely chock full of arthritis. So is that knee that I slammed on the ground. But other than that, no real lasting effects from the accident. But not too long ago, I was at my personal doctor, and I was like, "Hey, doc, I got a question for you." I told him the whole story, and I was like, "How come?" Now I've heard that if you have like a red beard, or you're from like your family comes from like the UK or Scandinavia or someplace like that, sometimes you're kind of you can't numb as well. Like when I go to the dentist, they have to give me like 8 shots of Novocaine before they can do anything because they can't numb me. And he's like, oh, yeah, you're a super metabolizer. I was like, a what? You're a super metabolizer. Like, I'm pretty sure that's not the case. I don't know if you noticed, I am heavy. I don't think I have even a normal metabolism, let alone a super one. He's like, no, you super metabolize opiates. That's why ibuprofen works, but pain, like higher potency painkillers, don't really do anything. And I'm like, man, am I lucky? Of all the things I could super metabolize, it's painkillers, not calories and stuff. Oh, the irony. So it turns out the reason why even fentanyl didn't do anything to me is because my body immediately like used it and was done with it. So turns out I'm kind of invincible. So motorcycle tried to kill me, unsuccessful. The lady that parked in my lane, I'm going to leave her alone. I was going to say she tried to kill me. I don't think she tried to. Maybe. But she didn't. I'm invincible. Motorcycle couldn't take me out. Fentanyl didn't take me out. Didn't even give me any pain relief. I'm pretty sure I could do whatever. I might start skydiving or something. Because I am unbreakable and invincible. I'm a super metabolizer. And now you know, dude. Here's what happened. Thank you guys for sitting through this episode. If you made it to the end, I love you. Even if you didn't make it to the end, I love you too. I love all of you. I'm very grateful that you're watching this, that you're listening to this, and I hope you feel like we're hanging out. Somebody commented on the last episode. I thought it was actually pretty awesome. They said, hey, just for the record, I found this quite enjoyable. It was the closest thing I've felt like to hanging out with a friend in a long time. And that's exactly what I want this to be. Like I was talking about earlier, I was lonely and I was depressed for a long time because of all the stuff that I was going through. And there was other stuff that I didn't mention that I was going through. I was in a very dark place. And that's when I found stand-up comedy. And that's when I realized that if I could make other people not feel like I was feeling, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. That's why I love stand-up comedy. That's why I got into it. That's why I'm a part of a nonprofit that is warring against post-traumatic stress disorder. I don't want anybody to ever feel like I did. Alone, depressed, sad, defeated. And if I can take anybody out of that, even for a 45-minute podcast or for a 10-minute, 20-minute, hour-long set on stage, whatever, if I can take some of that pain for a little bit, I'm doing exactly what I want to do, exactly what I think I was put on this earth to do, and what I want to do for the rest of my life. So I hope you feel like you're hanging out with me. I hope you feel like we're having a good time together and we're friends and that I care about you because I do. I'm not trying to get all mushy on you guys. This is a comedy podcast. But I just wanted to let you know what happened. And now you know. I love you guys. I'll see you next week. Check out my Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, all that stuff. I make content almost daily. Check it out. If you're not a subscriber or follower, do that now and have some fun. I try to keep it lighthearted. This was a little darker, but I appreciate you guys taking the journey with me. And I will see you next week on Dude, Here's What Happened. Peace out.